Hop Nation, your commissioner's here, doing his due diligence after an amazing draft. Back in the Box Productions presents the Bernie and OMC show. Bernie is not with me today as I go solo, but I am the original MC. Happy to be here today. Since Bernie's not here today, I'm going to go ahead and talk to his people. And this is a really fun show today, because today I get to take all of everything that happened with the draft last night and break it down for you with my own, my own special sort of take on things. And so I'm really looking forward to it. Might be a fairly long show, but check it out if you guys are interested. I actually have a bit of an agenda today, but let me start by giving some perspective. We have been doing this league so long that in the very first year of this league, I wasn't even a father yet. And as of this season, my oldest is 16 years old and driving. So, we've come a long way in this league. I'm so thrilled that we're back. And every year leading up to the draft, I say to myself, depending on what's going on in my life at the time, man, here we go again. A lot of work getting everybody together, trying to coordinate schedules, talk about different rule changes and everything. And every year it comes together. And the draft happens and I have a blast with it, and then I have so much fun knowing that for the next 3 months I get to manage a team and really try to win the whole thing. So let's get into the agenda for today. I'm going to do a little housekeeping with you. I'm going to talk a little bit about league dues. I want to talk about waivers and transactions, just to kind of review that since the draft happened last night. And then I'll talk to you a little bit about what my plan is for the season in terms of videos and what I plan to do to keep you guys engaged and interested. What I can do as commissioner and as the person who runs this league and has for many, many years. So that being said, and then after that, I'm gonna break down the draft for you. In my mind, here's the way I think it's gonna go. I'm gonna go through each round from 1 to 10, because it's a 20-round draft. That's a lot. I'm gonna go through each round 1 to 10, sort of in a lot of detail. And then what I'm gonna do is I wrote down little notes on, a pick that sort of opened my eyes for a couple of rounds later. So there's a couple of names that I have here on different picks that I was like, raised an eyebrow for one reason or another, and I'll get into that with you. And then I'm going to end by just doing a quick assessment of every team in the league. Now, keep in mind, this is my own opinion, and I'll have a little fun with it, but I'll also give you my honest opinion as well. If you don't like it, I don't really care. Okay? Get on, do your own video, and post it. That's what this is about. I would love for all of you to participate. And I know you guys enjoy the videos. It's not as much fun for me if I'm doing all the recording. I would love to see you guys participate as well. That being said, let's jump into it. So let's talk league dues. League dues, as always, is $150 for the season. We've had some partial payments already. We also had a couple people actually pay their full dues. So what you can do is on the league note that I put on there yesterday prior to the draft, I note a couple of people that had partial payments in already. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep track of that on the transaction counter. So if you go to the league homepage on ESPN and go to transaction counter, you can see how much you owe and how much you have paid or still owe for the league. I would love for you guys to get that in as quick as possible. As I mentioned, the preferred options are Cash App and Venmo, and I will put my Cash App and Venmo right above, which you're seeing now as you're watching this video. If you do not have Cash App or Venmo, reach out for me on the side and we'll figure out another way. But I really would like to have that in place so that at season ends, we don't run into an issue. Sometimes we've had issues in the past where there was still some outstanding dues. I want basically everything in so we can put that aside so everything goes out as soon as it's all over. Also on the league web, the homepage, I've also listed the bean counter and how the payouts are going to work. It's the same as last year, but it's there for you to refer to so you can see what you're on track for and how it all works. If there's any questions about that, let me know. Okay, the draft is complete. Now, we all know that the draft is only stage one of bringing in a Hop championship. So, you've drafted a team, but we all know that it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So from here on out, it's going to be how you manage things. So let's talk free agents and waivers. Just to reiterate for the guys that are still relatively new to the league, even though you've all returned for another season. The waiver order has been set. The waivers are simply the reverse of the draft order. So Craig Roloff, who chose the number one pick in the draft, actually has the last waiver priority to start the season. If you put in a waiver claim, what happens is as soon as a player comes off of waivers, if there's any claims for that player, they are awarded by priority. If you get a waiver claim, you move to the back of the line. So keep that in mind because unlike some leagues, we do not reset waiver priority based on records. This is a different strategy for this league. The waiver priority is set and it will only adjust as waivers are utilized. So pay attention to where you are on that waiver list. Currently, any undrafted player is listed as waivers on our website until Saturday. Okay? When you go to the free agents, if you look next to it, there's usually a day in parentheses. Whatever that day is, that's when they come off of waivers. So right now, everyone that wasn't drafted is on waivers until Saturday morning. Which means if there's anybody out there in free agent land that you have to have and you want to put in a waiver claim because you're afraid someone else is going to get them, you still have the opportunity to do it. If you do not, then once waivers are processed, if that player is still in free agency, you can go in and pluck him and take him as long as he's still available and you don't burn a waiver position. So again, transactions are unlimited. Pay attention to your waiver priority. And also, don't forget the IR spots. IR is an injured reserve spot. And what that's used for is if you have a player who is listed as out or on IR, you can remove that player from your roster and hold him in an IR spot. And what that does is it opens up another roster spot for you to use on somebody else. You cannot put a suspended player there. The site won't let you. And you can only put a player there who's IR eligible. And as soon as they are no longer IR eligible, if you don't take them out of the IR spot, you won't be able to pick up any other players because it'll tell you you have an illegal lineup. So again, this will come up, I'm certain, throughout the season. So I just want to make sure you heard it. And if you have questions about that, you let me know. Let's talk about what I'm planning for that. You let me know. Let's talk about what I'm planning for. Oh, back up. Trades. One of the most fun things in this league and other leagues that I've been in is the trade chatter. Looking for ways to put trades together to try and fleece your league mate. Or, obviously the best trades are ones that make both teams better. But it's a lot of fun, trade banter. I urge you guys to do it or to talk about it, engage with one another. I'm going to be out there looking for trade offers. Trades are unlimited. They are also processed immediately upon acceptance. But there are a couple of trade rules that I need to remind you guys of. First of all, you cannot trade a player whose team plays today. And this happens most frequently on a Thursday game. If you have someone playing on a Thursday game and you have a trade you've been talking about, come Thursday, that player on that team can't be traded because they have a game that night. So that's a house rule. And if I see a trade get executed for a guy whose team is playing that day, it's going to be reversed and all the moves that happened after it. Okay? So that's number one. Number two, as soon as a trade is accepted, it's immediately processed by the site. And then basically for 24 hours, if anybody wants to challenge the trade, you can do so. If a challenge is made, we will take a league vote and majority wins. In the event of a tie, the trade stands. Why do I do it this way? Because I don't believe that there's anybody in this league that's trying to collude with another. I think we're all trying to win. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't veto trades. To me, I believe that if a trade is agreed upon two people and there's no evidence of collusion, that the trade should be allowed to stand because different people value different players. Now, I know that people will grumble, oh, why don't you just, you're taking it up the ass and this and that and the other thing. That's fine. Comment all you like. We're here to bust balls with one another. But understand this, under no circumstances do I believe that there's anyone in this league who's, cheating or trying to get an advantage by colluding with another player. I don't believe that to be true. So make your trade offers in good faith. Try to talk your way into it, no problem. If you legitimately have beef with it, you can challenge the trade, but be prepared to stand by your challenge and we'll go to a vote. That can only happen for 24 hours though. So if a trade is executed on a Tuesday, don't come to me on Friday and be like, that trade is bullshit, I'm challenging. 24 hours, that's it. I want this to be a true league where you can manage your team and have free will to pick up players, trade players. That's what makes it so fun, in my opinion. If you don't like it, there's other leagues you can join. Millions of them out there. All right? Okay. Lastly, let me give you what I anticipate is the format for the rest of the season. So my plan currently is to try and do intro videos leading into each week to go over the quick matchups, and also to do a recap video after each week. All right? That's my goal. It's a little ambitious because I have a lot of other things going on with work and stuff like that, but I'm really going to try to keep up with the videos to do that because you guys have told me you enjoy it. But I need to ask you guys to try and participate. Throw up some videos, give me a quick something on Facebook, bust the balls of your opponent coming up, make fun of somebody as I'm about to do with the draft in a minute, whatever it is. But get involved. Get involved because I'm putting a lot of effort in to give you guys content and videos that I will post on our YouTube page as well as the Facebook page. I would love to see some of the same from you guys, okay? On that note, let's dive into it. We had a draft last night. Everything went amazingly. It took a little over an hour for 20 rounds. It was fantastic. And with that being said, I'm going to go round by round up to 10 rounds, okay? So round one went kind of like you might think. You had Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Tyreek Hill as the top three. Every single mock draft and rankings that I saw basically had those three guys listed with an honorable mention towards Cooper Kupp, who in this case did go in the first round, but all the way at pick 9. And that was because some recent injury news came out about Cooper Kupp, and that dropped him on the you don't want to be taking chances in round one. So you had Jefferson, Chase, and Hill. Then you had Travis Kelce go at 4, which is pretty much the highest I've seen him go. Amazing that a tight end would go before running backs. And then we had a mini run on running backs for McCaffrey. And then ironically enough, I don't get this, Bijan Robinson went before Austin Eckler. I'm going to need some explanations on that. And when I look, who did it? Other MC, who's got a lot of stuff to answer for. The Brooklyn Baller chose Bijan Robinson over Austin Eckler. Stephon Diggs goes at the 8 spot. I'm a big Diggs guy. I think that he's going to have a really good season. And I was going to try to see if I could pull off a stack this year. But to be honest, I knew that I wanted either Chase or Hill. And, I couldn't go with Diggs there. So my draft position didn't really work if I was going to go with Josh Allen. Cooper Kupp at 9 and Saquon Barkley at the 10 spot, who I think is primed for, a big year. He's got something to prove, and he's on a, 1-year contract. So round 2, we turn it around, and we go Garrett Wilson, who everyone thinks is going to have an amazing year. He's a phenomenal talent, played great last year, has, first time a quarterback thrown to him with Aaron Rodgers. Then we had Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb. Henry's one of those guys that's boom or bust, right? This is a guy who can put up 50, 60 points, and if he's playing the Houston Texans, you lost that week because he gashes them every time he plays them. But also, too, he's subject to, getting hurt from time to time and just being stifled because he almost seems to get frustrated. Nick Chubb, I think, could have a really good year. There's no Kareem Hunt there. The Cleveland Browns are supposed to take a big step up this year. And Nick Chubb is probably the best pure running back in the game, although he doesn't catch many balls. But he's probably going to have a positive year as far as touchdowns are concerned, and he's got nobody taking carries from him. Not only is Kareem Hunt gone, but Dearness Johnson is gone as well. Then you have Devontae Adams Definitely took a bit of a downgrade at quarterback. He's got Jimmy G throwing to him now. That being said, he went from Rodgers to Carr and had an amazing year. They look for him. He's a ball hog, really solid player. It'd be interesting to see what he does there. And then we had Patrick Mahomes go, first quarterback off the board, if I'm not mistaken. And he went in 5th pick, round 2, Brooklyn Baller. And then we had Josh Jacobs, A.J. Brown, Tony Pollard, and then Joe Mixon and Amon-Ra St. Brown in that order. Amon-Ra St. Brown would have been on my team. I passed on him. I was a little bit concerned because he's already got an ankle injury and he missed a fair amount of time last year. But I think he is a PPR dream for a wide receiver. Josh Jacobs, I look for a little wear and tear on the big usage last year. There's a stat flying around about guys that had 320 carries in a year and how they've regressed pretty poorly in the years that followed. Should be interesting to see if that happens to Jacobs. By the way, let me take a moment out for a quick second. A quick shout out to Vinny, because for years in the Hop, he's been Big Sexy. He actually changed his team name to Miamichi Hop. And for those that don't know, that's because Vinny is now the proud owner of a pizzeria in St. John's, Florida. I hope I'm saying that right. And doing big things, and everything I hear is it's amazing, and I can't wait to get down there. I'm glad he's representing in the Hop this year with the pizza joint's name. Okay, let's move on to round 3. Round 3, you had CeeDee Lamb, Joe Burrow. Ironically enough, Joe Burrow getting drafted before Josh Allen. That was very, very interesting. But reason for that is he was taken by CB, who had previously drafted Jamar Chase, and so he gets that stack, which we all kind of like. Then Josh Allen, then Jalen Hurts, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, Jahmyr Gibbs, DK Metcalf, Deontay Johnson, Travis Etienne Jr. So, interesting thing here, Deontay Johnson, I expect positive touchdown regression from him this year, meaning the guy, he was a target monster last year. But what was this big thing? He couldn't get into the end zone. I don't believe that can happen again. So I actually kind of like that pick. It was probably a little earlier than it needed to be, but I think he has a shot to actually outplay that draft position. Okay, round 4. In this order, Keenan Allen, Najee Harris, Chris Olave, Dameon Pierce, Aaron Jones, Devonta Smith, Deebo Samuel, Mark Andrews, everybody laughed at me for that, Rachaad White, and Calvin Ridley. Now, in round 4, this is where you kind of start looking at, depending on your roster needs and everything. Najee Harris, people think he may bounce back. I don't think so. This is why I drafted Jaylen Warren so late in the draft, because Warren has played really, really well. I think Pittsburgh is going to be a little better this year. I'm not a Najee Harris believer. Prove me wrong. Dameon Pierce has a shot to be really, really dangerous this year. The problem is Houston isn't a very good team, but then again, they weren't last year either, and he played really well. Devonta Smith, Deebo Samuel, Rachaad White. Now, you guys know I touted him a lot last year. I talked him up big time, and he did end up starting on my team. And I really like him. I mean, he's going to be the feature back over there, but Tampa Bay is going to be probably a really bad team. And so while I like Rachaad White, 4th round is entirely too early for him. He was one of my targets, but he was not going to be a target this early. Okay, round 5. Justin Herbert. Very good value there, I think. If, in a league where quarterbacks and wide receivers are kind of valuable because of the passing game, getting Herbert that late is pretty decent. Darren Waller, I think, has a chance to be very good, but a huge injury risk. Ramondre Stevenson, Alexander Mattison gets a shot at the feature role in Minnesota. Christian Watson, DJ Moore. DJ Moore has looked good in this preseason. He's a talented guy, and now he's got Justin Fields throwing to him. I'm not a big believer in Chicago this year, but DJ Moore is a talented guy and looks to maybe break out this year. Then the aforementioned Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson could be the number 1 quarterback in football this year. I think Baltimore is going to have an amazing offensive team, in my opinion. Alvin Kamara around 5. You know, you gotta hold off. He's suspended for the first 3 games of the season. Still, when he comes back with a better quarterback under center this year, he might be a really solid player. T.J. Hockenson, you know, at the end of round 5 is a very good pick, and he got paid, so he's happy. Hockenson could be a really dangerous player in a league that doesn't really boast a lot of tight ends. You know, Jonathan Taylor. Now, first pick in the 6th round. You guys remember where Jonathan Taylor got drafted last year? Number 1 overall. So the guy's got talent. He's a 24-year-old running back, but he did suffer a pretty significant injury. The bigger problem here is that he's fighting with the organization. He's starting the year on the PUP list, so he's going to be out for at least 4 weeks. I don't know whether he's going to play or not. So this is the ultimate roll of the dice. Because if he comes back and plays well and plays motivated, you got yourself a first-round talent in the 6th round. If he doesn't, that's kind of a high-round draft pick to be burning on someone that you get no usage out of. But anyway, Jonathan Taylor, Dak Prescott, James Conner on a tanking Arizona team, Amari Cooper, who played pretty well with a really bad Deshaun Watson last year, who should be better, could be a good player. Remember the knock on Amari Cooper, though. If he's on the road, he's terrible. If he's at home, he's money. Sky Moore with KC. You know, you want to have a little piece of Kansas City. You know, they seem like they're always scoring points. George Kittle. I'm a Niners fan, you guys know. I think George Kittle is going to struggle this year for 2 reasons. One, he doesn't play well when all those other players are on the field. Not that he doesn't play well, but he's not a priority. And number 2, he's an extremely good blocking tight end. And they do like to do those sweeps with Debo and stuff like that. I don't think you're going to get a lot out of Kittle this year. DeAndre Hopkins, how will he do in Tennessee? We'll see. Big Mike Williams. I'm going back to the well. We'll see how many games I get out of him. Brandon Ayuk might be the best pure talent receiver in San Francisco. And James Cook, who I rather like, can he be an every down back? Kind of small. Okay, round 7. We have 4 more rounds to go in terms of a little in-depth detail round by round. Round 7, Dallas Goedert, who I really liked last year. Got hurt, towards the end of the season, did come back. Miles Sanders, Kenneth Walker III. It's funny because Kenneth Walker last year was drafted late by my brother, I believe. And then when he finally got his shot, took the world by storm. Why does it seem like the luster is off of him already, right? The shine is off of him. I think because he got hurt a little bit last year and there's some concerns about durability. Plus the backup in Seattle is a very, very talented player. And so I don't know if there's going to be a timeshare situation, but give me some Walker in a situation where I think Seattle is going to be an excellent team this year. Cam Akers, Javonte Williams, Kyle Pitts. Can Kyle Pitts get back to his number 3 tight end ranking last year where he was horrible? I don't know. They got kind of the same old quarterback. Ritter's their quarterback over there. We'll see what happens. David Montgomery, new in Detroit. I think they're going to ride him, whether or not he's going to hold up. Breece Hall, round 7 to my brother, Jets fan. Look, Breece Hall suffered a really bad injury last year, but if he comes back, I think they're going to start him slowly. If he comes back and looks like he did last year, that's an amazing value at round 7. My concerns are they brought in Dalvin Cook, who's got a little feed me attitude, and Dalvin Cook's going to have a little ramp up time. And if he plays really well, which he's capable of doing, they might ease Breece Hall back in a lot, and maybe he doesn't ever return to that number 1 status that he achieved so briefly last year. But we'll see. The guy's a serious talent. Chris Godwin and scary Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin, look out for that toe injury. Those tend to linger. We'll see what happens. I think Washington's going to be better this year. Top of round 8, Isaiah Pacheco. Are you? Guy played really well at the end of last year. He's one of my darlings, and then I eventually traded him away. But he played really, really well and has definitely taken the reins as the lead back. Now, here's the thing. Will Pacheco play a bigger part in the passing game this year? We all know Jerick McKinnon played that role as running back in Kansas City. We'll see if Pacheco can grab a bigger piece of that pie. Evan Engram, I'm a big Jacksonville guy. I told this to a couple of people. Here's the deal. I think Jacksonville is a Super Bowl contender this year. And I said that last year about them this year. I think Trevor Lawrence is the real deal. I think Calvin Ridley is actually one of the targets that I'm really upset that I didn't get this year, but I didn't quite time it out right to get him. I think that Jacksonville is real this year, and Evan Engram is a really talented guy. I think he can play really, really well. Cole Kmet was very interesting choice for me at the 8th. I don't believe that he's at all what we saw last year. I think he's a flash in the pan. Should be interesting to see how that works out. Drake London, you guys know I touted him last year. To me, he's a seriously talented guy, and he could make some noise this year. But at the end of the day, it's still Drake London, it's still Atlanta, and they don't like to throw the ball. So we'll see what happens. And then we have Trevor Lawrence, who I just talked about. J.K. Dobbins. Again, first of all, this is a great time to get him, 8th round. But J.K. Dobbins, injury concerns. But I do think Baltimore's going to be high-powered this year. I do. It's just a matter of how they divvy that up. I'm not 100% sure how that's going to go. Tyler Lockett, one of my favorite picks of my own draft. I thought that was pretty good. 49ers defense, quite early. And Raheem Mostert, very savvy pickup because just before the draft, it was announced that Jeff Wilson was put on the IR, which leaves Mostert as the main guy. Now, you might notice that in round 8, I skipped over a pick I'd like to focus on for a moment. So if I may step away for a moment from the draft analysis. And that was the 5th pick in the 8th round, Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker is no doubt the best kicker in the NFL. Other MC says to me, go ahead, question me. He says, I fail to see why taking the best player to position and having that advantage every week is a bad thing. And the problem, other MC, is that you could have gotten him first of all, you could have gotten him probably 3 rounds later. It really should have been even later than that. Because as good as Tucker is, and as good as, last year you and I did a trade towards the end of the season where I had you throw him in as well. He's a great kicker. And he has a chance to, especially on a potentially high-scoring team. But here's the thing. The difference between kickers, it's too unpredictable week to week. And you only play one of them. And, you can pick up a kicker anytime. So to burn an 8th round pick, and my brother said it best, we play 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and 2 flex. That's 6 skill players, plus quarterback and tight end. That's 8. There's no way that in your first 8 picks that you're not filling either quarterback, running back, receiver, flex, tight end, and you're picking Justin Tucker. Makes 0 sense, but hey, it's your draft and I love you for it. Round 9, top of the draft, Dalvin Cook and Jerry Jeudy. People looked at me like I was crazy. I took Antonio Gibson and I took him with Brian Robinson still out there, who actually would go a few picks later in this same round. My rationale is this. Antonio Gibson, who was a little disgruntled last year, found the niche in the passing game. I think Sam Howell is going to be better at quarterback this year, be pretty good at quarterback. I think Washington's going to be a decent team. More importantly than that, I think Gibson's going to catch a ton of balls. I think he's going to be the poor man's Austin Eckler and be a PPR monster. I knew he was slightly under the radar. I actually targeted him potentially a little higher, but I rolled the dice that he'd be there in round 9, and he was. Khalil Herbert, Mike Evans. Mike Evans is a pretty name, but now he has a little bit of a different quarterback throwing to him. No longer Brady, but Baker. So we'll see and he's also in a contract dispute. George Pickens, DeAndre Swift. I just talked about B-Rob, Brian Robinson Jr., who I love as a player. Cortland Sutton, Deshaun Watson should be better this year. He's a talented player, another year away removed from the legal issues, and now he's had another year in the system. So, and I guess okay, round 10. Last one will go specific, through the entire round. Pick 1, Odell Beckham Jr., biggest loser in the sport, in my opinion. Loses everywhere he goes. Can't stand the guy, and I think he's got nothing left. Am I a hater? Yeah, I am. I don't like the guy. Jerick McKinnon, personally, I think he regresses a little bit this year, but he was pretty amazing in the passing game last year from a running back's position. Michael Pittman, I was a little upset that this pick happened here because I was looking at Pittman. I think that there's a few exciting times in Indy with Anthony Richardson at the quarterback. I think he's going to take a little time to come into his own, but Pittman's a professional receiver, and it can't get worse than it did last year. So I like him. This is a great time to get a player like that. Freiermuth played really well last year at the tight end position. Jets defense. Other MC. Defense, 10th round. I want my initials back immediately. Christian Kirk, Zach Charbonnet, or Charbonnet, or however you pronounce it. I was a little sad to see him go. I waited a little too long to back up Kenneth Walker because, as I said, there's a chance that there's a little bit more of a timeshare there. Morrow scooped him up, and he got him one pick prior to where I was going to take him. So good job. Marquise Brown. Look, when you're looking at the 10th round, I was still trying to pile up some skill players who might do something. Marquise Brown is like the only guy that they have there outside of Rondale Moore. But Rondale Moore is not an outside receiver. I know that they're trying to tank, but they got to throw to somebody. And Marquise Brown, he doesn't necessarily care what Arizona's doing. He wants to play good for himself. DJ Chark and A.J. Dillon is a pretty decent pick there. I don't know what his role is exactly going to be in Green Bay now that they have sort of a change in, quarterback and everything. But, pretty good pick at that late stage. So that is the first 10 rounds in a little bit more detail. Now what I want to do is just touch on a couple of things that I noticed in subsequent rounds. And then from there, I'm just going to do a quick analysis of each team as I see them as a whole. So in round 11, I chose Jaylen Warren, and Morrow chose Anthony Richardson. So let me tell you why I think those two players are exciting. Jaylen Warren had a wonderful preseason, and I know that you don't base it all off of that, but he got a lot of first-team reps. He started to get very exciting last year. Najee Harris struggled last year, and I think that Jaylen Warren, I think the writing's on the wall. I think he's going to end up emerging over there. I don't know how long it's going to take. But he's an exciting player and someone that I'm willing to hold on to in the early stages. Anthony Richardson, in the year of the quarterback where running quarterbacks are, sort of the way of the future, Anthony Richardson, he might end up being the best running back on the team if Taylor doesn't come back. I don't know how he's going to be as a thrower in the NFL against NFL defenses, but not a bad scoop. The guy, you saw flashes from like Justin Fields last year. Running quarterbacks really can, if they hit just right, they can make a difference. Round 12, Rick Penner took Jahan Dotson. I really, really like him. I think Washington's going to take a step up this year, and I think he's going to be a very, very serviceable receiver. Round 13, Michael Thomas from Rick Erdman. Oh, Michael Thomas. We passed him around last year like a joint, and it was funny because I don't know, he sometimes shows flashes of the old Michael Thomas, but they say that oftentimes he looks old and frustrated, and I don't know what you're going to get out of him. But again, it was a 13th round pick, probably worth a flyer with a professional quarterback in New Orleans and David Carr. Okay, round 14, a little couple of quarterbacks for you. Aaron Rodgers going to Matt. It's a homer pick. And then Geno Smith going to CB in the 14th. I think Seattle's going to be really good this year. And you know what? I'm not a huge proponent of taking two quarterbacks. In fact, I didn't. But yeah, Geno Smith. Geno Smith, why did he go so low? Why I don't really get it. I guess people thought that maybe last year was a fluke. Look out for Seattle this year. Solid pick by CB. Round 15, I was disappointed. Tank Bigsby, the tank, backing up ETN in Jacksonville. He's probably of the sort of rookie running backs to watch out for. He's atop of my list. ETN, I'm sensing, is very injury prone. I think Jacksonville is going to be a win now team. If ETN falters or struggles with injury, look out for the tank. Look out for him. I wanted that guy. I just waited too long. Round 16, I took Rashad Bateman. Again, another injury-prone guy, but on an offense that I think is going to be outstanding. 17, Achane, the running back from Miami. Matt took him. So he didn't have a great camp, but they were very excited about him leading up to it. I think that he can carve out a really nice role in probably one of the most dangerous offenses in football in Miami. Little run and gun. He got a little banged up. Look out for him to make some noise. And you know what? This round 18 pick might actually be my favorite pick in the whole draft. Adam Thielen in the 18th round. Now you say, well, that's not exciting. But you know what it is? Smart, right? Adam Thielen is a possession receiver. He's the number one receiver moving out of Minnesota. Carolina, they're not going to be a great team. I think he's going to get a lot of catches. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities. And, yeah, I could see him going out in a big way. And, look, is he going to be one of the top 10 receivers in the league? Probably not. But look at his draft position. Round 18. I'm a little disappointed with myself that I forgot about him. Solid pick by Morrow. Round 19, Jameson Williams. Matt and I had a little side conversation going on about him. I was going to target him round 20 because he's suspended for 6 games. But this guy is an exciting receiver, and we'll see when he comes back. Let's see how he does in good old Detroit. And then in round 20, there's really nothing to speak of. It was mostly kickers. You hear that, OMC? Round 20, mostly kickers. So, all right. That being said, let's take a look at the rosters as they currently stand. So bear with me. We're going to go to rosters. Let's see how everybody's looking. So starting with myself, my starting lineup, I'm not big on ESPN projections. You guys know that. But my starting lineup is projected to have the highest point total by ESPN standards, which I'm happy about. I can tell you that my strategy in this draft was I wanted to try and get 3 players in the first 3 rounds that could win games for you by themselves. That was kind of my thinking. And I think with Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen, Tony Pollard, any one of those guys can take the roof off any given Sunday. And I kind of needed that. We'll see what happens. Kenneth Walker, Mike Williams, I love. Mark Andrews, we'll see if he's healthy. Ramondre Stevens, Tyler Lockett. Pretty good starting lineup. I took some flyers in the later rounds. Some guys that I'm starring. We'll see how they pan out. As you know, there's going to be a lot of movement on my team, as I'm sure there will with everybody else. Now, chosen ones. Picks 1, pick 2, pick 3. All Cincinnati Bengals. Burrow, Mixon, and Chase. Say what you will about that. I love the stack. I'm not a huge fan of the trifecta. I don't want to have a running back and a receiver in the same game for the very simple fact that game script usually excludes one or the other. In terms of the type of production that you're looking for at the top of a draft. As we said, I felt Rachaad White went too early. He's now relying him on a number 2 running back and number 2 receiver as Brandon Ayuk based on the way the lineups are set up now. So again, I feel that there were some reaches there. That being said, again, the season's just started. So, he makes a couple of moves here and there. Maybe he can turn this into something. From Morrow's got the Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown stack. Could be exciting. Alexander Mattison and Cam Akers a little bit underwhelming in the running back spots. I think Mattison is, ironically enough, more exciting as a handcuff and a backup than he is as a starting running back, but let's see what happens. A.J. Brown and Debo, starting wide receivers. Travis Kelce at the tight end. Couple of flex, DeAndre Hopkins, J.K. Dobbins. And again, I'm sort of basing this off of the way the lineups were filled in after the draft. Again, start of the season, there's points to be had here, but there's still work to get done as far as I'm concerned on this team. Then you have Matt Barchop. Lamar Jackson, I've already said that I believe that Baltimore is going to be one of the highest scoring teams in the league. With Chubb and Connor as your running backs. I don't know. I'm not sure about Connor. I'm a little lukewarm on him just because of what Arizona is as a team right now. But, you can't argue with Stephon Diggs and DK Metcalf and Chris Olave. I mean, those are three receivers that I wouldn't mind having, trotting out there every week. And then, of course, Michael Pittman. He's got a couple of Jets. Breece Hall waiting in the wings. Jameson Williams suspended through week 6. So there's some talent here. Miamichi Hop, Trevor Lawrence, Christian McCaffrey, and Josh Jacobs strike fear through me. But personally, I think both will regress this year. That's my honest opinion. That's why I didn't take CMC in the 3 spot, as I'm sure a lot of you thought I might. Jalen Waddle, solid player, high octane offense. But at the end of the day, Waddle and Devontae Smith, they're number 2 receivers on good offenses. So there's not really a true number 1 there. George Kittle, I think, is going to struggle. Christian Watson, Javonte Williams, I'm not very excited about. Jaguars defense, I think, could be good this year. Polish Powers, Deshaun Watson at quarterback. Saquon Barkley and ETN at running back. Look, if they play up to their potential, they could be phenomenal. Garrett Wilson and Keenan Allen. Again, these guys should be producing. Hawkinson, I think, is a really good player. I don't know what's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor, but we do know he's going to be out the first 4 weeks, so he's going to have to slot somebody else in. Scary Terry McLaurin, as I mentioned, is injured at the moment. But again, there's points to be had here, and season hasn't even begun yet. Polar Bears, Justin Fields, Austin Eckler, Jahmyr Gibbs. You can't go wrong with Eckler. Fields, let me just do a quick dive here. Interesting that no backup quarterback taking. That's something to watch because Justin Fields get hurt the way he plays. Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper, we've spoken about them. Freiermuth, an excellent tight end, in what I think will be a little bit of a better offense this year. Dameon Pierce, you can't go wrong with him. And Drake London, and again, deep bench with some players that, could certainly fill in. Scooter's boy, Dak Prescott, I think he's going to be a bust this year, personally. I'm not a big believer in Dallas as a whole. Derrick Henry, we talked about. Najee Harris, we talked about. Cooper Kupp, unfortunately, is a little bit injured. I don't know how serious. Deontay Johnson, I talked about. I think he's going to have a better year. Evan Engram, I like. Chris Godwin, Cortland Sutton. Again, these aren't the most exciting players, but they're professionals. You got Alvin Kamara coming back in a few weeks. So that's really going to help bolster that lineup. And then Michael Thomas. See what he does as well. Brooklyn Baller, Patrick Mahomes, and Bijan Robinson. That could have been Austin Eckler there. Aaron Jones, another year older. New quarterback in there. Will this be the changing of the guard? We'll see. T. Higgins, DJ Moore, Kyle Pitts, Sky Moore, George Pickens. Again, not the most exciting group. But I got Justin Tucker. He's got Jets defense. He told us he was going to do it. Should be interesting to see how Mike's team looks come year end. And then the southpaw, Justin Herbert. So this is from the 1 spot. Justin Herbert, James Cook, Dalvin Cook, the Cook brothers. Just realized that, actually. So he's got 2 cooks in the kitchen, then Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown. If St. Brown stays healthy, that could be the best 1-2 punch from a receiver standpoint in the league. Then he's got CeeDee Lamb and Calvin Ridley. My goodness, that's some beef at the receiver spot because I think Ridley's going to be a beast this year. Cowboys, Raheem Mostert, A.J. Dillon, Elijah Mitchell. Not really much else to speak of, but, look, at the end of the day, I don't see any one clear team as the, clear winner of this draft. There were definitely some that left a little something to be desired. But on the whole, I think, pretty much kind of went as expected. Somebody made the comment that they felt that the draft was too long at 20 rounds. Bottom line is this: we have 20 roster spots, we have 11 active, and we have 9 bench. The reason we do that is because we're a 10-man league. We can go a little deeper. Plus, some of the rules that are in this fantasy league lend themselves to having a large team with a large bench and stuff to work with. And so that's why we do it the way we do. In the future, if you don't want to draft all 20 rounds, feel free to auto-pick the last 2 or 3 rounds. I have no problem with that. So, in any event, guys, that is the draft recap for this 2023 season. Fantastic job. But remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I look forward to all your trade proposals, and I look forward to you hearing mine and all the free agents that are going to come up. Remember, the game starts, the first game of the season is 1 week from our draft day, which is Thursday. Chiefs, and I actually forget who's playing. So I know it's the Chiefs, though. So enjoy and get your lineups in. And if you guys have any suggestions on things you want to see, feel free to hit me up. Go ahead and do your videos. If you like something I said here today, don't like something I said, give me some comments, whatever. And I'm so glad football is back. And on that note, it's been a long video. Thank you guys for checking in and watching it. And we'll see you soon. So on behalf of the Bernie and OMC show, we are back in the box, and we're thrilled to be here for another year of Hop Fantasy Football. Thanks, guys, and be well. Kamish out.